What's up, Passion students? Jordan Price here. I am so excited to be jumping in with you guys again on this series. Wow, I love studying who Jesus is and particularly what he says about himself. I mean, it's profound, it's mind-blowing, and it's so powerful. And I hope that today I can give you a quick encouragement for your family group time. Let's dive in. John 8:12 says this. When Jesus spoke again to the people, he said, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. What's so interesting about this to me is that Jesus makes this invitation to people. Very frequently, he's telling guys and other ladies saying, hey, come follow me. Just come be around me. He wasn't saying, hey, I want you to come to the Sermon on the Mount, 7:30. Have your mom drop you off at 6:45 p.m. It's going to be incredible. James and John and Peter, they're all leading worship. It's going to be exciting. And then I'm coming, of course, I'm going to preach the message. And then, we're going to have this crazy after party. We might feed 5,000 people. No, he wasn't saying any of that. He was just saying, hey, what I want you guys to do is I want you to come, I want you to do life with me. And he knew that the radiance, the illumination that his life would bring would be the thing that would be the most compelling to his followers. And it was. They saw that his life was different than any other life that they had ever seen. Any other person that they had been around, there was a true enlightenment about this man. They realized that he was no ordinary dude, but he really was the light of the world. Wow, isn't that amazing? And here's the thing. Jesus turns this whole idea, though, on its head. And check this out. In Matthew 14, verse 16, he says this, you are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on a stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. Jesus was all about the glory of the Father. And he's saying, hey, when you become a light, when you become my light to the world, you're bringing glory to the Father. So the call that Jesus had on his life to be a light, he's also commissioning us as his followers to be the light into the world. And here he's telling us how we are to be a light. And so he plays on this analogy of what light does. And you got to understand that in this environment, they're sitting on the mountain, they're overlooking the city of Jerusalem. And in that day, Jerusalem had these giant white walls that were all around the city. And yes, those walls were for fortification from enemies and perilous things that might be coming against the people of Jerusalem. But here's something that you might not know that I learned recently about those walls. When people were far off during the day, maybe they were way out in the field working out far from the city, the sun would occasionally come in and it would glance. There would be a glare that would come off of these big giant bricks that made up the wall. And so if you were far off from the city and you couldn't quite see where the city was, you could catch these little glimmers of light coming off of that wall. And then at night, what they would do is they would fill up these giant lamps full of oil. And they would set these things on fire. And so again, if the weary traveler had been traveling all the way through the night and he was coming into the city and he wasn't sure exactly how to get there, he could see this light shining on top of this city so that he could know his way home. And that's what you're called to do. And that's what I'm called to do. Our lives are called to be a light that draws people home, draws people towards Jesus, draws people out of their darkness and into the light, into the comfort of Jesus, into the peace of God, into the life of God, into the security of God. That's what you're called to do. The second point that Jesus is making here is that light is either on or it's off. It's like water. It can't be both hot and cold. It can only be either on or it's off. It's either light or it's darkness. And the same is true for you, and the same is true for me. I can't be one person over in this environment and then a completely different person over in this environment. It just doesn't make any sense, right? They don't really go together. The third point that Jesus makes is that light reveals truth. Every kid that I know, really at some point, they need a nightlight. Even if they have the best mom, the best dad, the best big brother, the best home, and they're completely safe. When it comes nighttime, there's a good chance that they're gonna need that nightlight. And I don't know if you were like me, but I was terrified of the dark. I was afraid that the boogeyman was out in the hallway, or he was under my bed, or he was maybe in the closet. And so I would have my dad leave this nightlight on, or maybe he would leave the hallway light on, or maybe he'd leave the bathroom light on. But what that light did for me in that moment was that it exposed the truth of the situation. It showed me that there was no boogeyman under my bed, or in the hallway, or in the bathroom, and it gave me peace. And that's the same for you, and that's the same for me. As we are to be light, as Jesus is light, we are showing truth. We are showing an authentic way to live, the true way to live that Jesus has set before us. And here's the cool thing, is Jesus knew that the loudest message that he would ever preach, and that we would ever preach, would not be with our words, but with our actions. That the radiance of our life, the illumination of our life, the joy, the peace, the love, the kindness, the gentleness, the self-control, that's going to be the thing that is going to shine brightly to the world. Have you ever been driving down a dark road and you, for some reason, weren't seeing very well in that moment, and you're like, I don't really understand what's happening. And then the worst light you could ever see comes on in your rearview mirror, and it's those blue and red lights coming on behind you, and it's the police, and they're coming up behind you, and they're pulling you over, and you don't understand. You're like, I'm not speeding. I don't really understand why you're pulling me over. And he says, son, roll down your window. And you say, yes, sir, what's going on? Here's my license. He said, one of your headlights is out. And why do I tell you this story? Well, first of all, my wife has been driving with 2 headlights out for the last 2 months. I don't know how she's been seeing at all. It's been absolutely crazy. And so we've gotten that taken care of. I'm like, how were you able to see in that moment and in your car? You're absolutely crazy, babe. I love you. I'm just throwing that out there, but you're crazy. So here's the thing. Just like it's dangerous for you to be in a car with only one headlight, it's also dangerous for you to be the only Jesus follower in your life. You need to have another person or a community of people around you. And that's when you're going to shine the brightest, is when a community of Jesus people, a community of people that are lights of the world, are shining brightly for people around them to see. So I've loved being with you guys. I hope you have a fantastic family group time. Give your family group leader a hug. Hope to see you guys around. Love you.